What's it like to be skinned alive? Being skinned alive, also known as flaying, was first documented around 800 BCE, and in just about every century since, it has been used as a form of torture somewhere on Earth. The ancient Aztecs practiced it, as did ancient people in Greece, China, and Africa. It was also performed all over medieval Europe, especially as a punishment for traitors and other heinous criminals. While flaying is no longer common, a morbid curiosity surrounds the practice and its historical context. Keep watching as we delve into the gruesome history of flaying. Number 1. The flesh is tenderized to make skinning easier. In the past, some cultures would warm the skin in order to loosen it from the muscles and make it easier to peel off. Two common methods were used to achieve this result. The first method involved leaving a prisoner out in the hot sun all day until their skin was burned, which both tenderized the skin and prolonged the torture. The second method was to boil the victim alive, which could also lead to blindness and scorched lungs. Number 2. Skinning typically began with long cuts. Torture that involved flaying would begin with specific and calculated cuts. Historically, the first area of skin peeled off would be the face. After that, the body would be scored in various places to allow easy removal of the skin in one piece. These cuts would be incredibly deep and extend through multiple layers of skin in order to reach the muscle itself. Reportedly, sharper knives made the process less excruciating for the unlucky person being flayed. Number 3. Skin is usually removed in large sections. As referenced above, skin would be removed in large sections so that it could be displayed as a warning to others. In addition to historical accounts of flaying, there is also physical evidence. In particular, the ancient church of Hadstock in Essex held a legend of a Dane who had committed sacrilege and was flayed as punishment. It was said that his skin was spread out and nailed to the door of the church as a sign to others. When the door needed repair, pieces of human skin were found under the door nails, indicating the size of the skin sheet once held there. Meanwhile, at Worcester Cathedral, there is a large slab of human skin belonging to a Viking who tried to steal the church's bell. Number 4. The recipient can feel every nerve ending being severed. Because nerve endings extend deep into the skin and muscle, flaying was a particularly painful process. The ripping motion of removing large portions of skin meant that nerve endings were torn rather than cut, making the pain arguably much worse. Although the initial sensation of having the skin ripped off would be agonizing, that pain would have been temporary. The process of flaying would damage both the nerve endings and the fatty layer around them, called myelin. Because of this, the body would begin to go numb. Number 5. The recipient suffers a large amount of blood loss. There are several ways that flaying can be fatal, and one of these is exsanguination, also known as massive blood loss. However, this type of death was reportedly not common, since the human body can survive for some time even after a large amount of blood is lost. In fact, some estimates claim the body can lose approximately 40% of its blood before the person dies. Number 6. Infection can set in quickly. Though infection was not the most lethal aspect of flaying, it could occur when skin was removed and the body was exposed to viruses and bacteria. Infection could set into the bloodstream or vital organs and even cause the body to go septic. Unsanitary knives used in flaying could also lead to infection during the actual flaying process. However, death from the flaying itself was more likely. Number 7. The brain tries to protect the body. As the pain of flaying set in, the brain would respond as it would to any sort of pain by shutting down parts of the body. When the brain is faced with extreme pain and stress, it begins to release chemicals to counteract these negative sensations. Some of these chemicals are called endorphins, and they help transmit electrical signals throughout the body. They can act similarly to morphine, numbing the individual and giving them a certain level of calm. Number 8. The body goes into shock. As the human brain begins to process the effects of pain, such as the body being flayed, electrical impulses can begin misfiring. Due to the level of pain and terror the individual would be enduring, their body would likely go into shock. Shock can occur when there isn't enough blood moving through the body to get oxygen to cells. The effects of shock can include dizziness, confusion, trouble breathing, hot flashes, and an upset stomach. Number 9. The recipient will likely lose consciousness. One of the major effects of going into shock can be loss of consciousness. The brain can become so overwhelmed when processing immense trauma that it shuts down in an act of self-preservation. In fact, fainting was fairly common in flaying victims over the centuries. Some accounts even say that most people who were being skinned alive lost consciousness before they were even flayed to the waist. Number 10. Flaying ultimately resulted in death. In terms of whether or not a person can survive being flayed, the simple answer is no, they cannot. The skin is the body's largest organ. It keeps out infection and protects your other organs. In addition, the body can't heal and regenerate skin quickly enough to prevent death. In fact, it takes at least a month for skin to grow back, even under ideal circumstances. Number 11. Even so, dying could take days. Although death was imminent in cases of flaying, it did not necessarily happen quickly. Despite blood loss, shock, and loss of consciousness, there are reports of individuals living for days after being flayed. In these cases, infection and even hypothermia would kill the flayed victim. In 16th century China during the Ming Dynasty, an imperial eunuch named Louis Jean was sentenced to Ling Qi, or death by 1,000 cuts, after being found guilty of treason. Ling Qi took place over several days, but Louis Jean died on the second day, receiving only 300 to 400 of his 1,000 cuts. So, what do you think? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear it. Please support this channel and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this.